Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. The time is now 11:07, and I call this meeting to order. Mr. Saeed, can you please take roll call? If you could actually first read the notice of the public meeting, Mr. Saeed. Apologies for that.
Chairwoman, this is a special meeting added to the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission's 2024 annual meeting schedule. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the Senator Byron M. Baer Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of the meeting was provided to the Asbury Park Press, Bergen Record, Courier Post, Star Ledger, and the Trenton Times on October 25th, 2024. The agenda and information regarding the virtual nature of the meeting and the ability to live stream was also posted on the CRC website. The meeting time and location has also been posted on the website of the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission and with the Office of the Secretary of the State.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Saeed, if you can take roll call, please.
Commissioner Barker,
Present.
Commissioner Delcid Coso,
Present.
Commissioner Nash,
Present.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Present.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Present.
We now have a quorum. The first order of business is for the Commission to go into executive session to discuss legal matters and litigation and investigation updates. These are discussions that are not shared with the public. We believe the executive session should take about 60 minutes.
Thank you. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
Madam Chairwoman, I move that Commission goes into executive session.
Second.
Right. We have a motion by Vice Chair Delgado and a second by Commissioner Delcid Coso. Is there any discussion on this motion to go into executive session? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes. As Mr. Saeed mentioned, we expect the executive session to last approximately 60 minutes. So we can expect to resume the public session, we'll say at 12:15. We'll give it a 5-minute buffer. So 12:15. We will leave the live stream running during that time. So thank you for your patience, everyone. All right, we are back. Time is 1:37, and we will resume the public portion of this meeting. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Again, we try our best to accurately anticipate the amount of time that we'll need during our executive session. Sometimes we underestimate how much time we actually need. Now, before we carry forward with our agenda, I do want to note that we have one agenda change. Application number 2893 is not being considered today, so that staff can do some additional follow-up that they requested. So again, that is application number 2893 is not going to be considered today, so that staff can do the follow-up that they need to do to process that application. With that, Mr. Saeed, can you please announce the next agenda item?
The next up on the agenda is approving the minutes of the Commission's executive session held on September 19th, 2024, The minutes have been shared with the members of the commission prior to this meeting.
Thank you. If there are no edits or changes needed to the executive session minutes from from September, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the executive session minutes for the month of September 2024.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes.
The next item on the agenda is the consideration of bidding for safe use public information campaign.
Thank you. Director Riggs, I believe our chief counsel, Toizon, is going to be presenting summary of this item.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So on their September board meeting, the board voted to extend the contract to Princeton Partners for our safe use campaign. This was under Resolution 2024-283. After that vote, we received additional information, and based on that information, our CRC staff recommends that the commission vacate Resolution 283 as it is unable to extend the contract. And with that, I turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chief Counsel. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move to vacate the resolution for extension of the contract to Princeton Partners for the safe use campaign.
Moved by Commissioner Nash. Is there a second? Is there a second on this motion?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Del Cosa. Is there any discussion on this motion to vacate the prior resolution? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Saeed, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Aye.
Commissioner Del Cosa,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the consideration of public notices and publications.
So here we have one item concerning our social equity excise fee. Director Riggs, I will turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Cannabis Regulatory Commission is authorized to impose a social equity excise fee under the CREAM Act pursuant to Regulation 17:30-3.4. The social equity fee shall be adjusted annually based on the average statewide retail price of an ounce of usable cannabis. That average retail price shakes out to be $330.68. In accordance with the regulations, when the average price is below $350 but above $250, the CEF is to be set at $30 for usable cannabis and $8 for unusable cannabis sold for manufacturing. Therefore, it is staff's recommendation that the CEF be set in accordance with the regulations that were adopted by this board. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Riggs. If there are no questions from the board, is there a motion regarding the social equity excise fee?
Yes, Madam Chairwoman. Do I have the floor?
Vice Chair Delgado.
Madam Chairwoman, I move to waive NJAC 17:30-3.4 subsection C and set the social equity excise fee at $5 per ounce of usable cannabis and $3 per ounce of unusable cannabis sold for the purpose of manufacturing per year 2025.
All right.
I second that.
There's a motion made to waive part of the rule 1730-3.4C and set the fee at $5 for usable cannabis and $3 for unusable cannabis. Is there any discussion on this motion?
Madam Chair, I would
Commissioner
like to
Wilson.
make an amendment to that motion if possible. I'd like to waive the regulation 17:30-3.4 subsection C and set the social equity excise fee to $10 an ounce of usable cannabis and $3 an ounce for unusable cannabis sold for the purpose of manufacturing for calendar year FY, for calendar year 2025. And I want to share the reason why I landed on $10. And based on the regulations that we adopted back in the initial ones in 2021 and the amended ones in 2022, the first bracket of increase, what's supposed to happen after the 1/3 of 1% was set to $10 per ounce and $3 per ounce for unusable cannabis.
There's a motion to amend the present motion such that the fee to be set would be $10 for usable cannabis and $3 for unusable cannabis. Is that accurate, Commissioner Rios?
Correct. Yes.
Is there a second on this motion to amend the motion? Again, is there a second on this motion to amend the underlying motion? Seeing as there is no second, the motion does not carry. The underlying motion remains the same, before us remains the same, to waive 17:30-3.4C and set the fee at $5 for usable cannabis and $3 for unusable cannabis for the purpose of manufacturing. Is there any further discussion? Is there any additional discussion on this motion?
Briefly, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Barker.
Yes, I move to amend the current motion and move to waive the November 1st requirement pursuant to 1730-3.4 subsection D, I believe. I think this will afford the commission more time to gather more information, to speak to more stakeholders and organizations who represent the businesses and the people who will be directly impacted by this decision. Right now, as we've seen before us, we have a pending motion for $5. We had another motion that didn't pass at $10. And I think it behooves us to get this right. I think that I speak for myself, I absolutely need more information to understand what would be the appropriate number for New Jersey. I understand where other tax structures are in other states. But and I understand that we were very creative in our approach to our tax structure. And social equity is a primary goal if we're going to be successful in New Jersey. And so it's not that I'm trying to limit the social equity excise fee. And it's not that I'm trying to go to the maximum of the social equity excise fee if that is not going to result in true equity downstream. I think this decision stands to impact a lot of businesses, especially I'm concerned of our small businesses. I'm concerned for all of our businesses, but our small businesses, our businesses that are just onboarding, our new cultivators. This decision can be devastating. And what we've already heard from businesses, access to capital is so hard to come by. At the same time, we're going to increase fees on them to X number. Wherever we land that plane, we need to be sure that we're going to be able to generate more tax revenue for great social equity programming that gets to the communities and the people most impacted by the fair war on drugs, while at the same time not having a colossal effect on the industry, where the social equity businesses that we've newly onboarded can't make it and don't succeed. I would not want to see that in the name of the highest form of an excise equity fee. I believe the statute affords us an option to go up to 30. I know our regs, for whatever reason, were drafted more strict, but I think the statute affords us a more wiggle room. And so I would hope that we can take the time to talk to stakeholders, to talk to businesses, to talk to organizations, and get more information on what is the right number from New Jersey. And for the record, there are many ways to realize social equity outside of the social equity excise fee, right? Our law conditions 70% of all tax revenue to go to impact zones for social equity investments. I know our governor and legislatures, they have already started to provide direct allocations as other states have done, and we can increase those allocations into the hundreds of millions like other states have done. And that would also have a great impact on social equity. And so I do make this motion to afford the commission more time to get this number right. So we have the right number that can have the dual effect of raising tax revenue for social equity investment while also protecting our businesses and the industry that we've worked so hard to create and hopefully build as a national model. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Barker. So the motion is to amend the underlying motion so that instead of waiving 3.4 subsection C, it would be waiving 3.4 subsection D. Is that accurate?
Correct.
All right. So there's a motion to waive, a motion to amend the underlying motion such that the underlying motion now becomes a waiver, a waiver of regulation 17:30-3.4D. Is there a second on this motion?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Del Cid Coso. Is there any discussion on this motion to amend the underlying motion? Hearing no discussion on the motion to amend the underlying motion so that it then becomes a waiver of NJ-CRC 17:30-3.4D. Mr. Saeed, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Aye.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
No.
Vice Chair Delgado,
No.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes.
So now that that motion has passed, the underlying motion now becomes a waiver, a motion to waive 17:30-3.4D. Is there any discussion on this motion?
Madam Chair, could you repeat that? Is that D or C?
D as in Delta.
Waiving the November 1st date. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Wait, okay. What the previous motion was about the $5, $3?
Correct.
What was the original?
That is correct. And now through the past amendment to the motion, the motion before us right now is a motion to waive NJ-CRC 17:30-3.4 subsection D as in Delta to the
Okay.
effect that it would waive the November 1st deadline for the commission to take action.
Okay, we just voted on the amendment to supersede the original motion. We didn't vote on
Correct.
3.4. Okay, I was just,
That's correct.
okay. Thank you for
We
that. Matt.
didn't vote on any fee, any waiver of the fee.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
So the motion before us right now is to waive NJ-CRC 17:30-3.4D as in Delta. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Hearing no further discussion, Mr. Said, on the motion to waive NJAC 17:30-3.4 subsection D as in Delta, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Aye.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
No.
Vice Chair Delgado,
No.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item we have is the open public comment period.
So as with every board meeting, as with every meeting of the Board of Commissioners, members of the public can submit comments to us in writing during or after this meeting by going to our website, nj.gov/cannabis/meetings. The deadline for submitting written comments regarding today's board meeting is 5 o'clock tomorrow, Thursday, October 31st. Written comments will be shared with the commission members and will be made public. Speakers, we will go through our list of registered speakers in the order in which they registered to speak. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. We have our timer on the screen for everybody to follow along. Mr. Said will call out the names of our registered speakers. When it is your turn to speak, he will ask you to turn on your microphone. To ensure that the meeting minutes are accurate, we ask everyone to please state your name before giving your comments. So with that, Mr. Said, please call on our first set of speakers.
Thank you, Chairwoman. As a reminder, public speakers during this afternoon's public comment period will be limited to 3 minutes. Please be respectful and concise during your comments. The first person on the list, Thomas Norcia, if you're in the room, please raise your hand so that I can allow you to speak. All right, I don't see that person. The next person on the list is Amy Kachalia. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. Okay, I see you, Amy.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hello, thank you for the opportunity to submit comment. My name is Ami Kachalia. I'm with the ACLU of New Jersey. We, along with partners, work to legalize and decriminalize cannabis in New Jersey with a focus on racial and social justice. A core tenet of that campaign and of the promises made in the legislation and regulations that followed were to be reparative in nature given the decades of harm done to Black and Latinx communities targeted for marijuana arrests. New Jersey spent millions of dollars each year, 143 million to be exact in 2017, enforcing these criminalization laws while simultaneously divesting in resources and opportunities that allow communities to thrive. As such, this has always been one of the most important pillars of the work to ensure community reinvestment. And when the legalization law was signed in 2021, and when the regs were adopted not long after, they promised that a significant portion of the revenue, including 100% of the CEF, would go back to communities across the state. Now, at the time, the CEF was set purposefully low in order to allow the new industry to grow, with a promise that a higher fee would be implemented in the future to meet the need for meaningful community reinvestment. But it was always clear when the CEF would change. In March 2024, the CRC reported that the state's adult use cannabis market had achieved 1.3 billion in cannabis sales from April 2022 to March 2024. In the same time, less than $4 million was raised through the CEF for community reinvestment. I respect the concerns that were raised earlier by the Commissioner regarding supporting social equity businesses and want to note that this seems indicative of a larger question of how the state can better support and invest in social equity businesses. I really hope that this is a concern that the CRC and the legislature and the governor take on, but this does not negate the state's obligation to follow through on its promises for community reinvestment. Today's decision, I know, was to delay the vote, but My hope is that when the final decision is made, that we will not be leaving millions of dollars on the table that should be invested back into Black and Latinx communities that have borne the brunt of the drug war. Ignoring the law's promises and the regulations' promises also set a precedent for future CRC commissioners and elected officials to disregard the reparative goals of cannabis legalization. I urge commissioners to adjust the CEIF in accordance with your regulations that say that the CEIF shall be $30 when it is at this mark in terms of its average retail cost per ounce. Thank you so much.
The next person on the list is Michael Brennan. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. Also, I wanted to note that if you are calling in by phone, press *9 to raise your hand. Michael Brennan, I don't see that person. So I'm going to move on to the next person. Daniel Kessel. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. I don't see that person. The next person on the list is Ruben Moreno. Ruben Moreno. I don't see that person. The next person on the list is Carlos Almanzar. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. Okay, I see you, Carlos. Carlos, if
Can you hear me?
yes, we can hear you.
Hey guys, how's it going? Carlos Amansar, Towns from New Jersey. So I am coming to you guys today because it's been a year, well, 2 years that I've been trying the hardest to get into this business since I'm a Spanish, well connected in the African American community and everything else. When New Jersey came and opened the market for the cannabis, minority like myself, that been hurt and incarcerated by this market, we took a hit. So when you guys opened the CRC, open for the cannabis in New Jersey, I saw an opportunity and I went for it. I've been fighting for 2.5 years so far. I am down to all my money gone. And the more I keep going, the more corruption I keep fighting, the more disappointed I am more in the system because I have given everything up. I have shown everyone all the corruption and no one is standing up for it. Now, I want to know what the CRC are going to be doing to hold these people that are doing backdoor deal, township that are doing backdoor deal and hurting people like myself and my family. Now, we were the only female minority in town that applied for dispensary. So far, everyone in town is Caucasian, has a background that never had anything to do with cannabis, and the one that do have a different background of drug dealing with fentanyl and all the other stuff. So I do not know who I gotta go to, but I am tired and I need answer, guys. We need to do something because a lot of my people are trying to come in, but we can't because we are finding all these walls that the township are putting on. And then at the end, it's a favoritism. The people that are getting these licenses are favored or are related somehow with the town. Now, I have asked my township to sit down. I have asked everyone to sit down. I'm asking you guys, please call my township and find out because it's not fair that all this information that I have that I don't want to put it here. I feel like I got my family, we got stabbed and we keep getting stabbed and no one is standing for us. So I would like the CRC to start putting down their feet on these townships, please. You guys, I know your place is full, but we cannot keep letting these politicians do a lot of favoritism for these other people, and the people that deserve a chance to get in here in this market are being stepped on their neck. Because that's how I feel. I'm choked. I can't go to another town. So I would like to see you guys put your feet down with this township. Thank you.
The next person on the list is Austin Edwards. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. The next person on the list is Reverend Dr. Charles Boyer. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. I don't see that person. The next person on the list, William Caruso. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. All right, I see you, William.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the commission, fantastic staff, and cannabis friends. My name is Bill Caruso. I'm an attorney at Archer Law, practice in this space. I'm an advocate, one of the original members of New Jersey United for Marijuana Reform, a group that founded this movement on the basis of racial social equity and social justice. I'm very proud of what we built here together. I'm very proud of this commission's work. I am sometimes criticized as being a homer for this commission, and that may not be the case today. You have built here a model for the nation. That's not my view. That's the view of other states. I have been in Maryland at panels that have been heralding what Jersey's doing. I have watched the Delaware regulator point to New Jersey and the model that we've created. And I just came from Black Cannabis Week several weeks ago in Philadelphia, where New Jersey was being held up as a model for success. That came through hard work, that came through tremendous advocacy, and it came through the diligence of this commission doing work to ensure this industry gets built. It also came with innovation at the municipal level. We talk about racial and social justice and investment in those efforts. That is happening right now in New Jersey at the local level. It is happening through the 2% tax that these municipalities are creating. It is happening through, unfortunately, increasing fees. It is happening also through very odd host community agreements, but it is also happening through the revitalization of downtown areas and the revitalization of industrial parks as a result of cannabis. And that's only happening in 33% of our towns, as one of our last speakers mentioned, is very difficult to open, but it is happening. And you're in the precipice of doing amazing things, not just a $20 million grant fund that has been a successful effort that was funded by the EDA, and certainly not just the recent news of a cannabis training academy, the first of its kind. These models are continuing to build, but you can't kill this golden goose right now, because this steep tax at the $30 rate would decimate the racial and social equity that you've built. And what it would do is absolutely exacerbate the problems of the legacy market. One of the greatest successes that New Jersey has had is not criminalizing its legacy market, but converting it. And that is going on right now. One of the biggest abominations, though, that I am frustrated with is the lack of advocacy. It is wonderful to see folks show up for the money here today. But where were you when this commission was under assault from well-heeled financial groups and political actors in this state that wanted to take it out and destroy it? It would have ruined everything we built. Thankfully, members of the Black and brown industry and other advocates joined together to help build that wall around this commission and protect them, and I'm happy that we did. Where were you when over the course of a year, we were fighting to lift up the ideals we said to create a safe, regulated, and tested market, and folks in the hemp industry from out of state were putting this poison not in our regulated market, but on store shelves and convenience stores, selling it to our children, untaxed, unregulated, competing with racial social equity. It was wrong. That bill has still not been enacted. It sits on the governor's desk, signed into law after a long wait over the summer. clarified by the courts, and still not implemented in the way it should be. If you want to raise money for the SEAF, go back to the legislature and tell them to tax hemp the same way that they're taxing cannabis. Those folks want to be on store
William.
shelves, and they should be paying the SEAF too. Charles Barker, Commissioner Barker, my apologies. You did an amazing thing today. You hit pause. You were right. You were right to go back and study this. There are ways to protect this industry. There are ways to encourage fairness. There are ways to continue building on the phenomenal successes you've built on already. I applaud this commission's work today. I pledge to work with you and the advocates at this table to find the right answer. Racial and social equity reinvestment is absolutely important, but
Mr.
not on
Caruso.
the backs of this commission and not on the backs of this industry. Thank you for your time.
Okay, I see Austin Edwards raised his hand, so I'm going to call on you, Austin.
Thank you very much. Afternoon, Chairwoman, Vice Chairman, and esteemed members of the Commission. Again, this is Austin Edwards, Senior Policy Director for Salvation and Social Justice. We stand alongside our advocate partners like the ACLU and other directly impacted communities, urging the state to raise the social excise fee on cannabis revenue. This decriminalization and legalization of cannabis in New Jersey was a critical first step in ending a long, ineffective, devastating war on drugs. Prior to 2020, there are more than 3,600 marijuana-related arrests made each year. Research from the ACLU NJ reported that New Jersey ranked 11th for the highest rate of arrests of Black people for marijuana possession and 8th in the nation per 100,000 people. See, on the heels of this legalization between 2010 and 2018, New Jersey saw an increase of 45.6% in its rate of marijuana possession arrests, which existed as the 9th highest increase in the nation at the time. The sheer magnitude of the impact on Black residents in the state cannot be overstated, with policies that fueled blight, disinvestment, and the collapse of critical infrastructure within our communities. This is the legacy of cannabis prohibition in New Jersey, and we won't repair the harm that was committed against Blacks in this state by the state, absent significant and intentional investments directed towards restorative, equity, and wealth building programs. This is why we are in support of raising the amount of the SEAF. Specifically, we don't think even $10 is enough. We're hoping to raise it to the highest statutory amount, $60 if possible, because this is necessary to ensure the investments are desperately needed to repair and restore impacted communities are done in a meaningful and substantive way. In addition to SEAF, we're urging this commission and lawmakers to create a public dashboard that allows residents to track the funding that's been set aside for community reinvestment and how it's being utilized to support community programs, resources, supports, and other opportunities. There should be an annual report on the cannabis community reinvestment and the way those dollars are being used over time. We need this transparency about how much revenue is being generated, how that money is being allocated, because currently it's unacceptable that the public must be subjected to perpetual states of not knowing. We've worked long and hard, and our residents have done the same to make sure that this legalization and reinvestment should be able to see where their tireless efforts are going. I just want to acknowledge that we recognize the work of this commission. I know a lot of commissioners spoke to the same earlier. We're just hoping to create and establish an equitable and legal cannabis industry. We know it's not easy, but we know that you have the power to create that equity back in our community. Thank you very much.
I just want to note that the names that I did call that I see raising their hands, I will get back to you. I'm just going to go in order and then get back to the other names. The next person on the list is Damon Hanschel. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. if you're also, another thing to keep in mind, if you're calling in by phone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. The next person on the list is Joseph Kanageiser. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. The next person on the list is Ken Wolski. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. Ken Wolski. The next person on the list is James Graziano. James Graziano. The next person on the list is Samuel Reichbart. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. The next person on the list is John DeMayo. Oh, I see you, Samuel Reichbart. So I will go to Samuel.
Hi, can you
Samuel?
hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Hi. I just wanted to bring a point to your guys' attention. I really think there needs to be a delineation between I I don't want to say MSO because there are, newer, smaller businesses that are moving over to New Jersey, but some of the larger corporate companies absolutely can afford to pay the $30 CEIF fee. Companies like Cureleaf that have done patients wrong for many, many, many years now. They produce cannabis around $100 a pound and then turn around and sell it inside their dispensaries for anywhere from $6,000 to $8,000. And at wholesale, they're still getting about $4,000 per pound. There is no reason, not a single one, that they cannot afford the $480 per pound of the CEIF fee. There is absolutely no reason. But at the same time, we do still need to protect these small businesses that have worked so hard to come online and that are struggling for money right now. They cannot afford that. We need to create a delineation between the micro licenses or something along those lines because I don't want to see the companies that I would actually bother to smoke that are on shelves right now go under. But at the same time, I think Cureleaf and GTI and MPX and Kindtree and every single one of these companies that has put out garbage, that puts their weed in irradiation machines, that makes sure mold gets to the market, that pays extra to inflate their numbers, that lab shops, that harms patients. Every single one of those companies should absolutely have to pay every single dollar that you guys are allowed to charge them by law. If you don't, you are just allowing them to do our state dirty and allowing them to continue to hurt people that should be getting the benefits of the war on drugs and of cannabis legalization. Do right by the people that you keep saying you want to do right by. The small businesses that have worked so hard to get into this industry and the people who y'all have spent the last 50, 60, 70 years arresting. Thank you.
The next person on the list is John DeMayo. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. The next person on the list is Bo Hutch. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. Bo Hutch. I'm going to go over the names of the people that did not get a chance to speak that are on the list. Thomas Norcia, if you're in the room, please raise your hand. Michael Brennan, if you're in the room, please raise your hand. Daniel Kessel, I see that you have your hand raised. Daniel?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, my name is Dan Kessel, owner of Blood Hub NJ based in Toms River, hoping to open up somewhere in Ocean County. Also a social equity applicant, also someone who just got out of prison recently for cannabis, for crimes, they say. But what I'm really calling today would be about corruption in the government and processing and licensing. What would happen if a town with dispensaries currently open, the ordinance was not done properly? Now, I'm going to use Pine Beach, Ocean County as an example because they just opted in. And I'm sure, as you guys know, the process for opting in is the towns have to do a first read and a second read of an opt-in ordinance. And then there's a 20-day maturation period. And during that 20 days, the residents are allowed to go collect signatures, which would be about 25% of the last vote, to overturn that. Now, that gets me to South Toms River. South Toms River did a first read on February 28th, and on the same day accepted an RFP process. And then 2 weeks later, on March 14th, gave the RFP acceptance letters to open up to 3 companies. One is currently open, and they did the second reading of the ordinance, not giving the 20 days. Now, my issue with that is I can't get into specifics because there is a criminal investigation going on at the South Toms River cannabis program. But if you would like to speak with me, I can meet with my lawyers. But also, as the social equity tax you guys are doing, it's going to absolutely triple manufacturers, wholesalers. It's going to cripple retailers purchasing. Prices are going to skyrocket. I don't think it's an old idea. I'm all for social justice. And why wouldn't you guys recommend? Why is cannabis taking the full burden of social equity and social justice when alcohol has hurt our communities way worse than cannabis ever could? Maybe rewriting the cannabis laws and alcohol laws and taxing alcohol a lot more, just like you guys are going to be doing on cannabis, would bring more revenue for the state of New Jersey for social equity and social justice. But that's just a point on that topic. But on corruption, it's happening on all local towns. It's something that needs to be looked into. I spoke with someone a year and a half ago, let them know I made a criminal complaint, and you guys still let dispensaries open knowing what is going on, that there's a criminal investigation going on. So we have a huge problem. Your job is to make sure these deals are done correctly, and they're not being done correctly, and the ordinances aren't even being done correctly. So these dispensaries that are open are now fruit from the bad tree. So we have a huge problem, and I look forward to working with you guys in the future. Thank you.
The next person on the list is Ruben Moreno. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. Ruben Moreno. The next person on the list is Reverend Dr. Charles Boyer. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. The next person on the list is Damon Hanschel. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. The next person on the list, Joseph Kanageiser. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. The next person on the list, Ken Wolski. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. The next person on the list, James Graziano. The next person on the list, John DeMeo. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. And last but not least, the Bo Hutch. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. Chairwoman Wainu, this will conclude the registered speakers we have for today's public meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Saeed, and thank you to everybody who shared their comments, their experiences. and their suggestions and ideas for the commission. Again, anybody can submit written comments to the commission by going to our website, nj.gov/cannabis/meetings, and submit it and sharing your written comments to us by 5 o'clock tomorrow, October 31st. This concludes the business that we have before us today. With that, I move that we adjourn today's meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Del Coso. Any discussion on this motion to adjourn? Hearing no discussion. All those in favor of adjourning say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The motion passes. The time is 2:23 and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your evening.